very nice to be here. I probably met maybe 60 of you in that hallway there. So already you feel like family, or at least you made me feel very comfortable. That and the free food out there, because I had those chips with vinegar. I love the whole place. I might apply for a job here, in fact. And I bet it would be a lot less work than the stupid thing I'm doing now, you know? I've been asked to speak to you, and we discussed what would be a good topic. I always like a topic that people relate to, right? And I'm assuming that we have a crowd of Shark Tank fans based on what I heard there. Well, I want to thank you for my job, because if we didn't have good seasons by this point, we were going to be axed in season 1 and 2. And so, particularly for the people who are watching early, you saved our ass. Or I'd be out thinking, okay, now what do I do, you know? So it all worked out very nicely, as you know. I'm going to talk to you about 3 things, like 3 sections to it. Only a little bit of everything. You're going to like one of them, right? I'm going to tell you my rags to riches story, because the people organizing the event wanted me to spend 5-10 minutes on that. Then I'm going to talk about the entrepreneurs I'm working with. And I've even met a couple of people already today who know some of my entrepreneurs. I'm friends with them. So that was kind of nice. And so I won't say anything bad about them, even though I was going to dish them like crazy. And then I'm going to follow it up with like a little dessert, behind-the-scenes photos I dragged up from behind the scenes of Shark Tank, so you know what really goes on. And I call that section of it, what are the sharks really like? Versus the personas we try to put forth there, or what we're being coached to be on the show versus what we actually are, okay? All right, so I'll start with the rags to riches story as it pertains to what I wound up doing for my life work, which was being a real estate broker here in New York City. And I really had very, very good luck as a child, 2 enormously lucky breaks. I had 2 good parents. And anybody who's got one good parent, as you get older, they get better and better. In fact, I don't even know if my mother and father were as good as I'm going to tell you they were. But as I get older, as we all do, you start to appreciate any advantage you had as a child. So I had a mom, and I'll show you the picture of our family, minus 1 child. We had 10 kids. We had 6 girls, 4 boys. We lived in a little town, which I'm sure you've heard of, Edgewater, New Jersey, right across the river. When we were there, every man in town, except my father, was employed by one of 3 factories there. I actually thought our family was like the Kennedys because my father put a suit on every day to go to work in Trenton, New Jersey. And somehow, because every other man was in a factory uniform except my dad, I was like a snob, okay? And my dad actually was a printing press foreman when printing was a big deal, before that disappeared, for many various factories all through our childhood in Trenton, New Jersey, typically. Anyway, my mother was the powerhouse in my family, not my dad. My mom was a phenomenal motivator. She was probably the most organized person I've ever met in my life, and I've met so many organized people. My mom would decide on the birth of each child exactly what she thought that child's gift was. So she'd announce it the day she brought the baby home from Holy Name Hospital. We were devout Catholics in our family, and that's why I haven't been to church since. She overdid that one, okay. But I remember distinctly when she brought my brother Tommy home, and Tommy is the middle row, would it be to your left, okay, with the longish hair. And she had Tommy as an infant in her arms. I can remember it was like it was yesterday, and she said, "Look at your brother Thomas. He's going to be a magnificent dancer." And we were like, oh, I remember me thinking, oh, a dancer in the family, cool, we don't have one of those yet, you know? And what did my mom base that prediction on? She saw that Tommy had fat, juicy legs kicking like hell. And that was her prediction. So what happened to my brother Thomas, who now we call T? T grew up to be a ballet dancer for Alvin Alley Dance Theater. And he used to say, when he came into the house, after he was long out of the house and doing the ballet, he used to say, the truth is I can't really dance, but Mom somehow convinced me I could. Right? For me, she said I had a wonderful imagination. That was my function in the household, just like Tommy's function was to dance. So my function was to entertain the other kids. So if it was a rainy day, I was the person assigned to bringing the kids down in the basement and putting on a Broadway show. If it was a sunny day, my mother would make up some kind of shit, throw it at me as an idea. like, why don't you go in the backyard and open a rock store, Barbara Ann? And I go, like, a rock store? What's a rock store? She goes, oh, with your imagination, you'll figure it out. And you know what I found? I could sell rocks as long as you staple them in white paper and staple the corners so nobody could see which rock they were getting. People pay for that, the kids in the neighborhood. All right. And so our family went. It was like growing up in a small town. We had 6 girls in the girls' room, 4 boys in the boys' room, and my mother and father produced all those kids from the living room couch. My mother's other great gift was she was a phenomenal organizer. We had the messiest house, as you could imagine, with that many kids. We had the biggest family. But we also had the cleanest house when my mother cracked her mental whip on us, right? And the key to her organizational skill, which I later learned in building a big brokerage business, was she created a system, that's a lisp, a system for anything she had to do more than twice. So for example, we had 2 sock drawers in the kitchen, in our little kitchen, and she converted them to, bread drawers built in. That was common then. And she converted them to 2 sock drawers. All the boys' socks were the upper drawer, all navy blue, all one size. All the girls were white, all one size. So when you get 10 kids out to school in the morning, all you have to do is grab any socks you wanted and go out the door, as long as you remember which drawer. And the only kid in my family that got mixed up was, of course, my brother Tommy. He went out with the white sock. No, Tommy, come back. Okay. So that's how our family went. Hugely organized. My mother totally ironclad control of every one of her kids. And you didn't dare not walk the straight and narrow. My father's job was to be my mother's 11th child. And he was totally in charge of, other than working during the day as a printing press foreman and washing trucks for UPS at night. On weekends, he did not work. And on weekends, his job was to play with his children. And we couldn't have gotten a better playmate. My dad had probably the mental maturity level when he was out in the yard of maybe an 8-year-old, right? And he did dangerous things with us all the time. And what do you like more as a kid than something you shouldn't be doing? And even we knew we shouldn't be doing it, but he didn't. So for example, if it was a snowy day and we got to stay home from school and he couldn't get up that Oxon Hill out of Edgewater, what would he do? He would take all of his kids, and as many as he could fit in the whole neighborhood, put them on the long wooden ladder that ran down our side yard, and he'd shove us down the hill. He'd hop on the last rung, we'd go over that retaining wall and into oncoming traffic. When every other kid in town got to go to the automatic car wash in the uptown above our house, all the kids were raving, it's automatic, it washes, it's automatic. They had nothing on my dad. We went up, and the little subtle difference that made all the difference was right before we went in, we were wondering, why did we have to wear pajamas? He made us wear our pajamas. Right as we went through the car wash, he said, quick, roll down the windows. So he had this bizarre sense of fun, and ironically, when we all get together for weddings, christenings, funerals, whatever today, what do we talk about? The 12 loads of wash my mother hung on the line every other day, the 3 meals she put on the table every day so we could all eat, the clean house. No, we don't even mention my mother. All we do is sit around and say, hey, remember the time Dad was at the lake and they had the hailstorm, and they told us to keep under the water and stay dry? Ah, yeah, wasn't that fun? My mother gets no credit. And you know what I've learned? I've learned that kids don't remember the extravagant vacations. It all becomes a blur later on. What children really treasure most is something silly. And so I had that wonderful role model in my dad of being ridiculous. And I use that too to build my business. So between my mother's ability to pick out the talent in someone and create motivation to make them be their best, what a gift that is to breathe in and out with a woman who did that as a matter of course, and her ability to organize any mess, and my dad's ability to let it all go, who gives a damn, and have a good time. I had a lot of different models to choose from. And so I was really perfectly poised to be an entrepreneur, if you think about it. I have 9 siblings, as I mentioned. Out of all my siblings, only one is not self-employed. Everybody went into business for themselves. I credit my father entirely with that decision because he hated every boss he ever worked for. If he came home from work at 5 or 4 o'clock instead of 6 o'clock, the usual time when we had to be in our seat at the table, my mother's order, when he came home early, we left everything we were doing. And you dropped everything, the hockey sticks, everything. You ran in and sat in your spot early because you knew my father had an adventure to tell. And he'd saunter in, like John Wayne himself, sit down and say to us, guess what, kids? And we'd all scream, you were fired! And then he'd go on and say, yeah, I told Mr. Stein to go shove it up his butt. But he used worse language than that. And he said, I quit. I'm not listening to his son. And of course, my mother didn't know how she was going to feed the kids, but my father must have interviewed well, because within 2 weeks, he always had another job. So there are gaps, okay. Onward to being older, the lucky break as a young woman. I was 21 years old. being a waitress at the Fort Lee Diner right above my house. We thought it was a rich town. Basically, it wasn't. It was middle class, but it looked rich from where we were sitting. And I was at a counter when Ramon Simone looked in. And of course, this isn't him, and I don't have a picture of him, but he was as drop-dead gorgeous as Johnny. Is it Depp or Depp? Depp. Okay. Anyway, he had these aviator navy blue sunglasses on. You couldn't see his eyes. He had jet black slick hair. He had dark olive skin, and he had a real suit on. Other than my father, I had never seen a man in a suit. But this was an expensive suit. I could smell it. I could feel it. Not that I touched it. But you just know, you know. One look at him, I knew I'd be losing my virginity within the week. And ironically, it wasn't like I was saving it for anybody. It's just nobody ever asked for it. I was competing with the blonde bombshell at the next counter. Her name was Gloria, and she had a gimmick that was my first real live marketing gimmick. And her gimmick was she would balance 2 coffee cups on each hand, and she had bosoms like a shoebox before I think they even had that surgery, actually. And she would balance 2 more on each breast, and she would hip her way through the double doors. And I'm telling you, the men at the Fort Lee Diner waited in line on the concrete steps for an hour to sit at her counter while I'm washing mine for the 3rd time. Unfair competition. But lucky for me, only the night before, how timing makes a difference in life. The night before, I was with my mother, and she was hanging the wash, and as she's trying to dish out that wash as fast as she could, I'm standing there whining and complaining, Mom, it's not fair. Nick really should make people, you know, one for me, one for her. She's getting so many tips. Nah. My mother didn't like complainers, and she said, why don't you just maybe braid your hair, put nice red ribbons to match your little turtleneck that you wear, because we had red turtlenecks and black pinafores. That was the costume. And she said, just stay as sweet as you are. And I told her that was a stupid idea, because I was 21. Mothers were stupid. But of course, when I got to the diner, I did that with the rubber bands, the red ribbons, and I'm telling you, I found that men like 2 kinds of women. The hot tamale, like this lady, or they like the great white virgin. Either are very, very innocent, okay? And that, I should have one with braids and everything. Ramon Simone said a smart girl like me should really be living in the big city. I'd grown up in Edgewater and never set foot in New York City. It was a different universe. It was a mental universe. We called it the city. No one ever went there. And so Ray moved me into the Barbizon Hotel for Women on Lexington Avenue, which is now I think it's an exercise place of some kind. But anyway, it only allowed women to stay there, most of them spinsters, no men were allowed, and he paid for a week. Well, now my mother definitely had me pegged as a prostitute. She forbid me to go, but I was 21. I told her I'm going anyway. And off I huffed and was banned from the house till I dropped that terrible guy named Ramon Simone. After a week, Ramon Simone gave me $100 to buy myself a New York outfit. This sounds like prostitution, but I was so naive, you know. And I bought myself a lavender one, stretch top, stretch pants with buttons in a square, really cool. Lavender boots, no, I didn't have enough for a purse. And I walked down Lexington Avenue, and I knew I would never, ever leave New York. It was that moment, a week after I was in, I was like, this is for me. I'm a Georgie girl, I'm cool, you know, that kind of thing. And I never left New York. I got a receptionist job for the Giafuni Brothers and answered the phone 50 million times a day. Good morning, Giafuni Brothers, good morning, Giafuni Brothers. I did that for a year, and then Ramon Simone said, you know, you'd be great as a real estate broker. He said, you got such a good personality. I'm going to give you $1,000. Let's start a real estate business. I wish I could take credit for the idea. Said, oh, that was my dream. Wasn't. My attitude on that one was, hey, I've had 22 jobs so far. Why not try another one? That was it. Bang. Give it a whirl. And so we started the Corcoran Simone Company with an accent on the Simone because that was his last name, and it was very fancy. And after all, he had explained to me his name was Ramon Simone, I pronounced it perfectly, and he was from the Basque Country, which I had to look up before the advent of the internet. You had to actually go to a book and look up Basque Country, right? And I found out that they were warriors of some kind in Spain. Boy, was that a turn on. That finished off my virginity right away, just that one little thing, you know? Okay, so where was I? All right. We started the Corcoran Simone Company, which was a rental company in sublease space on 61st Street off Madison Avenue, owned by an accountant. Cheap bastard. He raised our rent every month, but who cares? He gave us a break, initially, okay. Anyway, that was the beginning of the company. We had 14 lovely rental agents within 7 years. I felt on top of the world. I was actually taking a salary check for the first time on the 6th year, whatever it was. It seemed like a lot at the time. And I was thinking, life doesn't get any better than this. I had moved in with Ramon Simone. After I moved in with him, he told me he had 3 daughters. They moved in with us. No problem. I'm good with kids, right? Right. Well, surprise. I also found out from his mother, Vicky, that his name was not Ramon Simone. It was Ray Simon. He added the E's. And he was from 155th Street. So I'm like, well, there's marketing also. Okay. We built that little sales team. There's a picture of the original team with their old-fashioned haircuts and stuff, okay, on our first little retreat to brainstorm. And then almost 7 years to the itch, Ramon mentioned one night when I was dumping the pasta into the sink, he said, you know, we have something serious to discuss. Oh, yes, Ray? I looked up through the fog thinking how pretty I must look. I was 29. And he said, I'm going to marry your secretary. Tina, that bitch? I didn't really say that, but in my head I said it. You know what I mean? I thought I was in somebody else's bad dream, like slow motion when you're in a car crash from what I hear. I'm like, what? Her? Tina? No. He goes, yeah, don't get upset. We're madly in love. We're going to get married. He said, and really take your time moving out. I was out of there in about a minute with my toothbrush. Moved on to my best friend, really my only friend, because I worked so hard, I didn't have friends. Kathy Gilson on East 79th Street had a studio. I just went right to her house, and she let me in, and I started living off her couch until I got my feet under me. Now, what happened after that, I'm ashamed of, because I was a pretty happy-go-lucky person, thinking relatively secure, but somehow when that happened, I felt like my whole insides were pulled out. What a waste of energy. After all, Ray had found me in Edgewater. After all, he believed in me. He was my mentor. He was my boyfriend. He gave me a family. I was very, very, very fond of his three daughters. We worked together. I mean, it was my whole world, really, if you think about it. But I made the mistaken conclusion that I was strong because of him, and nothing good would have ever happened without him, all right? Because that's where I was at that juncture in my life. I also had the ridiculous idea that at 29, I was old. I'm like, holy shit, nobody's going to marry me. I'm 29 already. When most women, especially in Edgewater, all my sisters are married at their 18th birthday or within months of it. Every girl in Edgewater was married on their 18th birthday. So already my parents were sweating it out on me. I was a haggard old babe, you know? And I fell for it myself, okay? But of course, it took me about a year going in and seeing Ray and Tina. I couldn't fire her, he said, because he was a 51% shareholder, which was true. And I didn't want to go in and see them, and they were married in 3 months, so it was really true love, and they have 3 kids together. It was really meant to be. And things all happened like that, but for me, I was too naive or too stupid to see it for what it was. Just meant to be. That's the way life is, right? Okay, so it took me a year to get my feet under me. I pretended for a year. But when I finally, one day, somehow got brittle. I don't know what clicked. I can't even tell you what it was. But I marched in on a Friday morning. I said, you know, Ramon, this is what we're going to do. We're going to divide this business. Wait, I'm not that bad looking. Can I go back? 29, my face was still full. I had no facial hair then, you know? Okay. Here we go. So I went in and I said, we're going to chop up this business just like a football draw. This is my daughter, Kate, but that's when she was 6. She's already 9. Anyway, but it's such a cute picture. I don't want to show off. Okay. All right. I said, we're going to chop up this business rate today like a football draw. We're going to take the accounts that we have between receivables and what we actually had in the account. We had a little bit short of $70,000, I remember. So we're going to chop it up, 35 for you, 35 for me, of the cash portion and the receivables. You get to pick the first person. We had 14 people. Do we have 14? Yeah, 14 people. We have 14 people. You get to pick the first person. I'll pick the second. You go first. And then you could decide if you want to stay here or go, and whether you want the phone number. We had a great phone number. I didn't want to lose the phone number. But you decide, okay? You decide. But we're ending it today. He couldn't believe it. But within a minute, he picked Norma Hirsch, the top producer. 60% of my income. I picked Esther Kaplan, like a camel producer, steady as she goes, you know what I mean? All right, and chop, 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 chop. I collected my 7 people together. I put them in the corner of the office. I said, guess what? Good news. Monday we're moving. I'll call you over the weekend and give you the new address. What? Yeah, we're moving on Monday. I didn't tell them the others weren't moving with us, you know? And I said, come back for work on Monday morning, but I'll give you the address over the weekend. I went to my existing landlord on 3rd Avenue and 58th Street, And I got the exact same office, 2 floors higher than Ray, 8, 9, 3 floors higher. He was on 8, I got 11, and I got it for 20% cheaper. Now that to me sounded like God's will, that I was getting a lucky break, but guess what? It really wasn't. What it meant was the real estate market was about to crash. Because the commercial sector of the market always goes before the residential, but I didn't know that then. And I should have had, be careful, be careful, be careful, but I didn't hear that. In those days, you could take a cab down to 42nd Street, you could buy all your desks right on the street, and the guys would physically run them up to your office and put them together. You could order the telephone, Ma Bell was a big deal in town. You could order a telephone on a Friday, have it installed on Saturday morning, that's what I did. And Monday morning came, we had desks, chairs, and a phone. And what do you need in the real estate business? Just people. And they moved into that and they sat down and we were in business. Bang. I decided to call the company the Corcoran Group because I figured if I was going to make it, I was going to need the help of the group. And that was the beginning of the Corcoran Group. When I left the door that day, when we ended that business, because Ray, rightfully, I think, now in hindsight, was angry. It was like getting hit broadside, okay? But Ray gave me the gift of a lifetime. He said to me, you know, Barbara, you will never succeed without me. And you know what? If he had said, you know, Barbara, you're amazing, I'm sure you'll do fine, I don't believe I would have stayed in business in the tough times. It was my sheer ego of that insult that burned so deep in my soul that when all the chips were down, I thought I had tried everything in the world, everything I could possibly think to stay in business highly leveraged, because real estate goes up and down and up and down. I was always leveraged because I was always greedy about where I wanted to go. But I would think of those words, and son of a gun, I would think, ding, one new thing. And that one new thing was always the thing that got me through. So he really gave me a gift, thank you. And of course, he was wrong, because I sold my business maybe 22 years later for $66 million. Now for the next part. Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Well, this one isn't on my slide, so we'll see where we're going. Okay. Now I'm a shark. I can read the damn thing. There we go. Now I'm a shark. And that's the Shark Tank set. I got the Shark Tank gig as a result of handling rejection, as I do so well, very well, yet again. Everything good in my life always happened on the heels of rejection. And so when I was hired to do Shark Tank, I signed the contract without even reading it, sent it back to Mark Burnett. Mark Burnett, a famous producer. I'm going to Hollywood. I'm going to see the Hollywood on the Hill sign. I'm like, I bought 3 new outfits to sign autographs. I'm going to be famous. Oh my God, oh my God. I was so excited. And then only 4 days before I was supposed to fly out to LA, I got the dreaded phone call. I'm sorry, we hired somebody else. We changed our mind. All right? And that's when I wrote the email, thank God, standing up for myself with the help of everyone in my office who's actually here, and let me not forget to introduce them somewhere in the dark in a minute. I wrote the email to Mark Burnett telling him I considered his rejection a lucky charm, cited all the negative things that happened in my life and how they turned around to be the best possible things, and ended the email with saying, I suggest you invite both girls out to compete for the lone female seat, and I'll pay for my own plane fare, and I'll be on that plane. And when he read that, his comment to his secretary of the secretary of the secretary that was standing there, she told it, Charisse, I think was her name, she said, all he said was, God, she's a shark. And invited me out, thank God. If not for that email, I would not have gotten that. I would not have met any of the entrepreneurs that I adore like my own children when they're making money. And even the bad ones, when they're not making money, I kind of like them too, okay? But I thought it might be very interesting for you to hear what I believe makes for a successful entrepreneur, all right? There's my original group from season 1 and 2. Maybe you recognize some of those people. My favorite, of course, are the 2 guys at the top, especially the one on your left, Sabin. He's so goddamn sexy, I can't even talk to him without breathing heavy. Okay, all right. Number 1 trait, probably in descending order, or at least the first few are the key, persistence, the inability to quit. Every one of my entrepreneurs that are hugely successful have that in spades. I don't know where you get it. Are you born with it? Do you develop it? Do you do it from the school of hard knocks? I don't know how you get it. But I know one thing for sure as an investor, if you don't have it, you're not going to succeed. You can have everything else. But if you don't have that low IQ, that when someone slams you on the head, you go down and then you bounce up and go, I'm an ass, I'm dumb, I'm back up, hit me again. It's like a weird thing, okay? That kind of a thing that goes on, the ability to handle a hard hit is key. And I have been able to separate early on now my investments very quickly on one little thing that happens. And the minute I see it happen, I'm like, oh God, I'm going to lose my money. And it's called feeling sorry for yourself. When I'm talking to one of my entrepreneurs, let's say we did the due diligence, we signed up the deal, I'm working with them now for 2 to 3 months, and something really bad happens, a disappointment, if they start doing a, oh, poor me, like, oh God, oh my God, that wasn't fair. You know, she really, blah, blah, blah. The minute I hear that talk, I know I'm going to lose my money. Because the difference between the really great entrepreneurs and everyone else is how long they take to feel sorry for themselves. I really believe that. And so if you're the type that just boom, and like, oh shit, that shouldn't have happened, what, and keep working, you're going to do well as an entrepreneur. Persistence. To tell you her story, by way of illustration, Daisy was selling 200 cakes, I believe. I might be off of my numbers because I always mix them up. So round them out in your own head. 200 cakes on Shark Tank before she appeared on Shark Tank. Boom! Every guy in America fell in love with her. She was the girl next door. Every guy ordered a cake. But her website crashed. She was out of business. She was out of business. But what did Daisy do? She was smart enough to pick up the phone and say, here's what I'm doing. I got one phone. She doesn't mind me imitating. Here's what I'm doing. I got one phone line here. Now, I'm going to forward that phone line. And this was a message when she knew I wouldn't pick it. I'm going to forward that phone line to your phone line in New York. And you get a bunch of girls that sound like me and start taking cake orders. And that's exactly what we did. 3 good actresses that sounded, hello, is this Daisy Cakes? It sure is. Right? What did she do? Okay, she's amazing. She has over $1 million in sales in cakes. Okay, if I had to say one trait that I've seen in this lady over and over again is she knows how to get hit hard, make a lot of bad business judgments, but I don't really care about them because I know she's going to come back up. Persistence, okay? Cousins, Maine, Lobster, I already cited for you, my handsome hunk on the right. When I come back, I'm going to pray to God, let me be born as Sabin's wife. And if he's not available, I'll take Jim. Okay. Cousins, Maine, Lobster, when they were on Shark Tank, they were in business 3 months. Their great trait is they are street smart. Again, common to all my great entrepreneurs, but I'll give you a story to illustrate it. They were selling lobsters out of a food truck. Bang! They were in the food truck. They had 3 months of sales. They were so well prepared that they had listened to 4 seasons of Shark Tank, had written down every question any entrepreneur had ever been asked, and they came up with 2 answers if they got asked it. They were practiced. They were so smooth on the set. I thought they were in business for 10 years, and not a single shark said, they'd say, our monthly sales are, they never said, how long you been in business? They never said it. No one asked. They were that savvy on their feet. I was the lucky shark that won that competition to get them. They grew their 1 food trucks to 10 food trucks. They just opened a restaurant. They're making money hand over fist already. They also opened an online Cousins, Maine, Lobster, direct lobsters right to your door, that kind of thing, anywhere. A very important part of Shark Tank to illustrate them in action is something we call updates. When you have a successful entrepreneur, the show likes to come back and do an update on, hey, what's happening? And the viewers at home really like that part of the show. When I pitched Shark Tank, oh, listen, they're getting an award from the governor's office in Maine for creating 50 new jobs in the state. It's the worst economy of all the states, the worst job market. They are? They are. You want to shoot it? Yeah, we love it. And then I call the governor's office. Hey, Shark Tank wants to shoot. They want you to give them an award for 50 new jobs. Okay, but here's what went awry, okay? A day before, they said, we're not only going to shoot them on the dock, we're going to come and shoot with the governor. We're going to do 2-part, the first 2-part update they ever did. Who ever heard of 2 parts? Where'd the 2 parts come from? The second part is we're going to go to the factory and shoot the 50 people. Hi, cousins, how many friends do you have in Maine? And how quickly can you get chef hats with Cousins and bright red printed so your brand is branded on TV? I don't know, we'll do our best. They had 50 custom-made chef hats within 24 hours, 50 employees of sorts in their factory smiling. But when the executive, when the field producer walked in, a little titan of a guy walked in, he saw all these happy workers with big hats on, which I blew garbage bags individually to puff them up. We were all standing, here's the workers. And when he walked in, he goes, great, but the chef hats have to go, they're just too much. And Sabin, my lover boy here, coolly turns around and says, you know, he said, unfortunately, we never let our chefs work without them as company policy. And the guy rolled right up, oh, okay. What was most important in this update is every shot of them had the brand in it. And what do you think happened to their brand new website that had no sales? It exploded with business, all right? Fast on your feet, smart on your feet, not the kind of stuff you get when you pay all that money for Harvard MBA. Street smarts, street smarts. How do you get out of the, how do you finagle and how do you do it fast? Key quality in an entrepreneur. Next, Tom and Chi. When I met Tom and Chi, they had just come out of selling their grilled cheese on donuts out of a tent in Cincinnati, all right? What was so interesting about them, however, they weren't talking about a tent. They were talking about a franchise of hundreds of franchises selling cheese on donuts. Okay, all right? What do you think happened? They told me about they're going to have an amusement park one day, a Tom and Chi amusement park. I'm like, okay, they're definitely on dope, these people. All right? But I don't think so anymore. I can't wait to go to the amusement park. They have 171 franchises across America. Exactly what they envisioned. They got exactly the picture in great detail, where they're going to do it, how they're going to go to the other side of the river in Cincinnati, which is another state, I forget which one it is, how they're going to come cross back, I'm like, okay, well, guess what? I should have believed them, okay? They have big pictures in their head. And every entrepreneur might not have a business plan with everything. In fact, none of them really do. I think they're grossly overrated. But they sure have a movie in their head of who they're going to be when they grow up, all right? And when they can't express that movie on Shark Tank, I'm always out. If they don't see it, how am I going to see it and believe it? And they're not going to get there. Visual, big picture. I don't know if Fleetwood deserves to be here because he's still not making me any money. But he is a big visionary thinker, and he's always pissing away my money on his ideas. Okay? But I have to say, I got to stay with him here because I'm in a contract with him mostly. And I also love him in his own bad child kind of way. But whatever, let me move on. Okay, next. I have a hard time being a phony baloney. Okay, what does this say? Sales ability. Yes, definitely. Tom and Chi, Harlem, New York. They're originally in Brooklyn, moved to Harlem, New York, under the train tracks. Interesting view of their business. You go there, you can't hear each other. But they have the happiest bakery doing pipcorn. What's pipcorn? Small kernels of popcorn that doesn't upset your stomach if you have any kind of food allergies, lactose, blah, 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 all that stuff. And it doesn't get caught in your teeth, and it's delicious. They discovered pipcorn because Jen had a stomach problem. Brother and sister team, Jen is probably the most charismatic person I've ever met in my life. She walks into Whole Foods and everybody's crawling up to her, dying to touch her. She's got charisma. She sells that popcorn to anybody and everybody, and they keep coming back for more. What does her great brother do? He's a finance guy. Anal. Couldn't be better partners. And what does he do? He even goes out and marries a financial investment banker, another whiz, bringing her into the business. What does Jen do? She hires her best friend to run the factory. What does that lady do? She knows how to make those popcorn poppers so happy. Amazing, but she's selling every minute of the day, no matter who she is. It's natural to her. Phenomenal sales ability, charisma. Another one, hold your haunches, same thing. These girls tell you should buy their pants for fat girls' asses, and I'm telling you, you're going to buy 2 pairs. Because they just say, hold your haunches? You got to have hold your haunches. Okay, you got to buy in. No wonder they have $1 million to sale by year 2 in Shark Tank, one of the best success stories. Next, risk tolerant, great trait, okay? This guy, I bought into him because he looks just like a pig. Do you know how, no, in a good way, all right? Pork barrel barbecue sauce, think about it. Anybody old enough in this room to remember that guy who used to sell chickens who looked like a chicken? Frank Perdue, he looked exactly like a chicken. I saw this guy go, he's the new Frank Perdue, but he's a pig. Okay. What's great about, no, and he doesn't even mind it. He thinks he knows what it is, okay? And he's married, he's more secure now with 2 kids. All right. But when he was single then, even then he accepted it. What's great about them is they're risk tolerant. When I say risk tolerant, I'll tell you this. They, when their business was young and they had to buy shelves and shelves in the stores, there's no way to get those shelves unless you're paying for them. They had a vision of a giant business. They went out and they raised like $800,000, maybe I did less, maybe it was 1, 2. They made it like $800,000 when they could barely stay in business, and they blew it all on more shelf space. They go for it broke. They're not the least bit bothered. And they're attorneys. They were Washington, D.C. attorneys when they decided to go in this business. Quite an unusual thing. Competitive. If I tell Jim from Cousins, Maine Lobster, I don't have his picture here, but you know I talked about him before. If I tell him one little thing about the guy he used to compete with on the hockey team, Jim was a semi-professional hockey player and had some injury or something in the minor leagues, if I'm telling that right. But anyway, his arch enemy on the other team was a guy named Luke. What do you think happened? Luke's from Maine, Jim's from Maine, Luke went into the lobster business. All I have to do to double sales is say, hey, did you hear Luke open another restaurant? Talk about competitive spirit, he's ready to kill. He doesn't stop working. He hates the idea that somebody might beat him at a game. It's his DNA, and his partner Sabin's the same way. All I have to do is tell Grace and Lace, who makes beautiful lacy socks and shawls in my most successful business by far in terms of making money. And what do I have to do to get them going? Hardly anything. All I have to do is say, God, got a big check from Cousins today. But you know, I'll get a check from her like within the week. A bigger check. They're winning? We're more successful. Why? I didn't say compete with my other. That's the way they're wired, competitive. You get an entrepreneur who doesn't feel the heat of competition, he's not going to be good on his feet. She's not going to come to the fore when she really needs it. That competitive spirit drives you through all the things that don't make any common sense in life. That's what it does, okay? There are my entrepreneurs at my house in Utah that we just did an update. I don't know if you saw it. Let me tell you, the great thing that I find about working with these people is it's a repeat of what I did at the Corcoran Group. I hired people, I developed talent, I love my people to death, I spoil them rotten, I tried to make them the best they could be, and I enjoyed every single second of it. My greatest satisfaction work with these entrepreneurs, the good ones, not the bad ones that take your money in the night, okay. The good ones is they're my salespeople all over again. They're phenomenally successful. Now, what do the sharks really like? With 3 minutes and 44 seconds left, I could tell I'm talking too much. I'll give you the lowdown, okay? What's Kevin O'Leary like? Okay, everybody thinks he's a mean guy. He's the pushover of the show. In real life, he's a pushover. When his wife walks onto the set, you can visibly see him shaking on his knees. I'm not making that up, okay? He fancies himself a very big connoisseur and doesn't have the common sense to know the label O'Leary wines is not a good fit for wine. All right, whatever, okay? Kevin's game for anything on the show. He'll pose, he'll do anything. We have more weird pictures of Kevin, okay, but he's an absolute sweetheart. I'm only going to tell you the first half of the story. You could use your imagination on the second. Kevin is never ready to leave the set at the end of a long 10-hour day, and it's a long day, trust me. It's like being in an army pit all day with a bunch of people. All right. So to get him to change and come, I ripped his pants down. I saw what was behind, and you use imagination. On the front, it wasn't much. What's Robert Herjavec really like? He definitely is gay and should come out. I constantly tell him, but what's great about Robert is he's a show and a half within the show. We all go out there, bring 2 dresses. You have to wear the same clothes. Bring 2 identical dresses. I fell for that the first 3 years until I realized I was paying for it. No, I'm bringing 1 dress and let's hope it lasts, okay? Robert brings racks of 50 suits, 50 shirts, 50 cufflinks, different colored ties, and then you got to do the Robert ritual on the first day of filming. Do you like this tie? This shirt? What do you think about this shirt? This tie? Just put on the fucking shirt, Robert. Robert, please come out. You'd be such a happy man. He's always kissing men. I've never seen him kiss women. I put that in simply because I look young. I put that in because I thought I'd look better than Lori. Oh yeah, what's Lori like? Lori's all about hair. It's unfair. I get 1 minute on my hair, Lori gets 2 hours, okay? Lori is about her hair. All the time, her hair. Let it go, Lori. But to Lori's great credit, she's the best merchandiser on the whole set. She gets a product that she likes, she's gonna slam it home. She's a gorilla. I can't compete with her in that. None of the men can compete with her. She's phenomenal. And she has our single best success to date in terms of quick money. I'll win on the long-term money, but she's winning on the quick money. Scrub Daddy. Damon's hysterical. It's a shame they edit all of Damon's comments out because it would be a much better show. He's filthy. But he comes across rather staid on the show, I think. I'm like, that's not Damon. They edit all the good stuff out. He is a chick magnet. You walk into any place with Damon, 500 women are surrounding you. I almost get stampeded. Okay, there's something about him. I think it's the way he uses his hands. So, because I get turned on by that a little. Okay. He's such a smoochy, I airbrushed my face there. What's Mark Cuban like? He's filthy rich, that's what's wrong with him. I've learned that there's a huge difference between a millionaire and a billionaire, okay? He basically does it for sport. Mark, I'll be in the makeup chair next morning. Mark, I can't believe you plunked down $1 million on that guy and gave him a $400,000 salary. He says, you know, I got to keep the guys busy, Barb. He gets grumpy. You got to loosen this guy up, okay? But he's the smartest shark, in my opinion, across many levels. I think he's got such a wide range of smartness in so many areas, okay? And when he's wrong, he's smart enough never to admit it. I've lost my most money with Mark. Okay, behind the scenes at Shark Tank, I'll just click through them. We get famous people on the set. It's a blast. They make us wear all kinds of crap. Okay. Oh, this is automatic. Yeah. Okay. You know, you go stark crazy on that set. One pitch looks like another. Okay. All right. They got props galore. Okay, on and on. They married Kevin and I twice now. It's ridiculous. Okay. Kevin loves stuff on his face. All right. Anything, he'll wear it. There's Damon. I think that's a repeat, right? Okay, dusting his head. How many times a day does his hair get dusted with powder? Mr. Wonderful, 500. Okay. People love to imitate him. Damon, that was an outfit. They said to Damon, you can't wear that. Oh, no, you can't wear that. He goes too way out on his clothes, okay? All right, side benefits. You get preferential treatment. Now I get the best tables. My assistant Gail calls. We always get a table even if they're full. Guys, I gave him my doll to this rock star. I still don't know his name. And he took her home. He's been sleeping with her. All right? That gives me a thrill. That's the executive producer. That's his child that was born in year 1, is now 6-year-old. That guy with the fur is the most important guy because he's in charge of lighting. I'm either going to look good or bad based on him. These are updates. They're thrilling to do updates. They're even more exciting to do the opening shots, the power shots with the jets. It's like, wow, I'm somebody cool, man. I'm cool. Red carpets, people flashing at you. Oh, yeah, I'm cool, and all that kind of stuff. Okay, shooting the updates with the entrepreneurs is fabulous. That's at my beach house. We did an update there before we did the ski one. Shooting them running around the country. My youngest entrepreneur, he's only 8, now he's 12. I send my doll around. You saw that doll when I can't show up. That's my pig guy. Now he's married. That's my pig. That's pig. Okay, gets even. Those guys a double kiss. Daisy Cakes, Grace and Lace, opening orphanages in India, 2 of them in their first year. They're making that much money. And there's my team. And in answer to the final question, do we like each other? Yes. You have to spend that much time with somebody. You're going to wind up either hating them or like them, and we really like each other and respect each other. And that's it. And I went over 40 seconds. Thank you. Whoa. Thank you very much. The good news is we only have to take 40 seconds off the question and answer. So what questions do you have? Anything. And the bravest person always raises their hand first. This guy? Oh, you're popping up. Is that how you dress for work, by the way? I don't mind. I'm just curious, really. Is that like the work thing?
I think this is even below Google standards, but...
I would agree with that, and I don't even know Google.
I just want to... Well, so first of all, that was phenomenal.
Thank you.
That was an amazing presentation, especially the entrance. I think that was like the best entrance that anyone's made.
Are you a schmoozer?
No, it was good.
Yes, you are.
I would tell you. If it sucked, I would tell you.
Yeah, you know what? I predict you're going to be the head of this organization by kissing ass.
Maybe if I dress better. But I was wondering, I see the show. I've seen it, like my parents love it. I noticed a lot of stuff gets edited out.
Your parents love it? Did I hear that? Thank you.
They're so excited that I'm here. It's kind of funny. I noticed that a lot of stuff gets edited out, or like there are a lot of jumps, and I'm wondering what gets edited out? You know, like do they actually tell you more? I mean, they must tell you more than what they show the viewers. You don't just make a decision off of like, oh, hey, you know, 3 minutes of...
Yes and no, all right? The reality is a typical pitch is 45 minutes to an hour and a half. When you're sitting at home, it's 6 minutes. All right, a good editor tries to eliminate those jumps. Very, very hard to do, okay? We know nothing about the entrepreneur when they walk through that fake tunnel with the fake sharks, okay? We know nothing, all right? And we are expected to make a deal on the set with very little knowledge other than what they represent. But what the entrepreneur is also made to do prior to appearing on Shark Tank is to sign extensive documents saying that they know it's not a real deal if we choose not to close. Roughly, I'd say 65% of the deals close. I really don't know that as a fact, but my sense of it is close, I'm sure. And I know that's true of me. I close about 60% of what you'll see me, I'm in, you know. Because things go awry when you do the due diligence. Not that people lie, but they're under pressure. It's TV. It's a lot. I mean, these aren't professional actors and actresses. And like the patent that they definitely have really is owned by the brother-in-law. You know, things go a little loosey-goosey, okay? And so they edit a lot out. But also, add on to that, it's owned by Disney World. Disney is the parent company. And they want it clean. Okay, so my great line for the two women that had the motorcycle jackets, and they had a terrible name. The first thing I said is, hey girls, you gotta name this Dykes on Bikes. And I couldn't wait to see that episode myself. I'm like, that was genius, Barbara, Dykes on Bikes, so memorable. And all the men on the set's like, yeah, that's great, I love it. Never made air, okay? So a lot of that risque stuff has to come out, okay? Including Damon's jokes, sadly, because he's hysterical. Okay, they never make air. Okay, and so did I answer your question? I think so.
Yeah.
And what's your name? Because you should be ashamed of yourself.
I don't know if I should say. I'm Nader.
What's your name?
Nader.
And what's your last name? I want to remember.
It's Al Naji, hyphenated.
Ah, okay, Al. Watch yourself. Okay. Who else? It's hard to see with the lights, so wave if you got. Oh, you're doing a line thing. Organized. Okay.
Hi, Barbara. My name is Kate Krivitsky. It's nice to meet you. Thank you so much for being here. So my question is less about Shark Tank, while I do love the show. But my boyfriend is trying to break into the real estate industry in New York, and he's finding it a little bit challenging. So I just wanted to know what advice you would have for somebody who's trying to start off.
Yeah, well, the first thing you should do is go and work for a top salesperson. Best way to go in. The easiest job to get in New York if you want to go in real estate is to go to a rental company. It's like the bottom feeders right there. It's terrible, but you know what's great about it? And I ran a rental company for 8 years before I went into sales, thank God. And you know what's great about it? You get 100 times at bat. In other words, you answer 50 calls. Is that apartment available? Is that apartment available? Different when you're selling. It's a slow motion. So you get a lot of practicing. If you could work as a free slave even for a licensed top salesperson, just sitting next to them being their slave or servant, you're going to learn everything. You can't learn in a real estate school. You got to be on the street and learn it. And so that's the most important thing, you know? And if you need an introduction, just give me the card. I'll pretend I know your boyfriend. Is he anything like you?
Yeah, I'm a little.
You sure? Because opposites. Wait, what did you say?
That I'm a little better, but he's pretty great. He's got charisma.
Well, I'll definitely introduce him, but my recommendation to you, if you're feeling that way right now, do not marry this man.
We won't tell him that. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't see that mic.
Hi, how are you?
A lady in the pretty dress. I met you earlier.
Thank you. You inspire me. So my question is, when you, also having to do with your career, when you started real estate, I mean, the sales aspect was always sexy and fun and interesting, but it was really dominated by men who were power brokers in suits, and if I understand correctly. And it wasn't an industry that was for sparkling, bubbly women who have big personalities. So I'm an attorney, which is not known for having big personalities or engaging.
Only the ones who made the wrong career decision.
Right. Well, no, I mean, there's some good there. I'm not vouching for attorneys.
Not that many
I hate
from
them,
what I see.
honestly. But how do you balance being taken in the beginning? We're balancing being able to be in front of titans of industry and being taken seriously in front of them, but also being true to who you are and letting people see your personality.
You know, the one great thing about getting older, other than you fall apart, which is really sickening and horrific, it really is, you find something new every day you don't like physically about yourself. Especially if you tend to be self-critical, and 99% of women out there are, and 99% of men don't even have that gene from what I see, okay? But here we go. I think it is essential to almost be ignorant. You know what I mean? I never felt like a woman in a man's field. And by the way, when I started, all the companies were owned by men. They weren't owned by women, but they were worked by women. The bosses were men, the women showed the apartments. And the general cut of a woman who showed the apartments for sale on Park and Fifth. Remember, it was a limited high-end market. That was it. You didn't have third, second, Tribeca, the Village. You didn't have that, okay? That was a vibrant rental sale market. You had narrow corridors on the east and west side. And they were society women. If you knew the right people, you could sell them. That wasn't me, and it was a huge disadvantage to me. Okay, that was the disadvantage, my upbringing and my lack of connections, more than I was a female, they were men, But it was a huge advantage to me to start hiring women. I had probably in my firm, my guess is 75 women before any man ever wanted to work for me. I interviewed men, but they'd walk in and see a pool of women, and like, they were in and out until Ralph Kruger showed up and said, I have a pushy wife and 2 pushy daughters, I love it here. And so I sat him right in the front so a man could walk in and see a man, you know, that kind of thing. But I think it's very important to almost be dumb and to, I forgot where I was going. The upside when you're getting much older, and I've gotten stronger and stronger in this way, by the year, by the minute, okay, and I wish I knew it earlier, is to be yourself. Because people, even if you're weird, a weirdo is often the most loved person in a team. I think if you could be yourself in all that it is, what typically happens is people like you because they can sense it's a real deal. It's the airs, the phoniness, the trying to impress, the insecurity, all the stuff that we all strive so hard for when we're young that gets in the way. You know, there was actually a 2-year period where I had my hair poofed up and didn't wash it all week to try to fit in with the society ladies, you know. But my scalp itched like crazy. I had to get rid of that haircut, you know, that poof thing once a week. Hello.
The bouffant.
All right? Yeah. And the only time my business ever fell behind was when I was so busy watching my competition. I analyzed everything. I had the listings on a chart by category, by size, who had what, who was my top, I was like a genius at my field. It was the only year of my whole career I never pushed the business ahead. I was so busy watching the next guy who wasn't watching me. Right? So being yourself, I would say, would be the most important thing. And forget about the female-male thing. I'm not saying it's not important in certain industries. Certainly if you're an attorney, investment banker, it's such a man's world. There's a lot of man's world out there. But entrepreneurship is a level playing field. There's no rules. And you know what I find, and sorry men to say this, but I find women can work in a real weird, never mind. They work harder. They work harder. They just work harder, you know? And maybe that's driven a little bit by insecurity. But for whatever it's worth, that's my 2 cents. Your question. Sorry I was so long-winded. Good question, though. Yeah.
Hi, Barbara. My name is Francine, and I
Pretty
thought I
eyes,
had a big
Francine.
family with 5 kids, and you have 10.
Yeah.
which is-
I didn't have them. My mother had them.
Yeah, your mother
Yeah,
has.
okay.
One of
I have 2. Yeah.
2. Thank you for being your authentic self. I think your story was really motivating and inspiring for all
Good.
of us.
That's
So
what I
my
hoped.
question for you is, you speak to so many businesses. Once you do bring them on, what are the top questions these businesses ask to be fast growth, high profit businesses, and how do you address them?
What are the questions the small businesses ask me? You mean my entrepreneurs that I'm in partnership with?
Yes.
You know, it's funny. Everybody has different questions, okay? I never really thought about that. It's a good one. Are there categories? Because I think of them as all individual businesses. You know what? I don't think I'm aware of what questions, because I have my own agenda. Okay? My agenda, when I'm getting together on Skype calls, emails, whatever, is how do I push this business ahead? How do I grow it? Because the one thing I know how to do, I'm not sure I'm good at anything other than it, I know how to take something small and make it big. All right? So I'm thinking angles. How do we multiply that? How do we multiply? Like my mother did the socks. Same kind of thing. You know, I'm not, my brain's going like that. So the advice that I'm almost always doing is for pushing them. Pushing them, pushing them. Yeah, try it, try it. And you know what I've also learned? I've learned with all the good entrepreneurs, the really successful ones, when they ask me for advice, oh, well, we have this situation, Barbara, I'd like you, blah, 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 and I go and give them my best advice, all valid. You know what they do? They do as they please. My best entrepreneurs listen to my advice and then don't do it. And that's an entrepreneur. It's an independent streak for the same reason my dad should have been an entrepreneur. They don't want anybody telling them what to do, even though they ask, all right? So it's not exactly your answer, because I'm not sure I have it, but that's the best I could do. Okay. Pleasure.
Hi, Barbara. My name is Michael.
You're a cool guy with the hands in your pocket, Michael.
I have a client meeting after this.
Yeah. You ought to lend your jacket to the guy in the shorts.
Just the jacket, not the pants.
Okay. You should give me your pants, Michael.
If you'd like,
Don't tease me.
I'm game. Long time.
Don't disappoint me if we go there. We could do this all day. Go
We
ahead.
can do this all day.
Okay.
Long-time viewer, first-time caller. Big fan of the show.
Well, slow down for me. Say that again.
Long-time viewer, first-time caller.
Ooh. Uh-huh.
Right? And in the vein of being a long-time viewer, I'm curious why you think the show's such a success.
It had to catch on.
What's that?
It had to catch on. The first couple of seasons, they constantly moved our time slot and our day of the week. Murder for a show. People just find you, oh, that was a fun show, honey. You want to watch it again? They don't promote it. They were doing no promotion of the show. The next week, it landed on a different day, different time slot. Then they moved it again. Just as we started getting traction, they kept moving it because we weren't a successful show. And what happens is you got to like have a trial by fire when you're not a successful show. Very few of them survive. Very few. I think it's like 1% of all shows that open ever stay on air. Okay, and so we were tenuous those years, and that was the biggest problem. And then we got loyal followers. You know when I knew the show was going to be successful? I remember the day some babe, this lady, weird lady, followed me into a restroom at the shuttle building in near Kennedy Airport, wherever that thing is, by LaGuardia. You know that shuttle, Delta shuttle. Couldn't remember the name. Followed me and hustled me in the John. I mean, one thing walk me to the sink, but walk me in the John, weird, you know? And she's like, I love Shark Tank, I love Shark Tank, I love Shark Tank. And you know what I thought? I thought she's just like my born-again nutjob sister Christian. I thought these are like born-again Christian people. And no, if you're a born-again Christian, I know that's not supposed to say that, but that, you know, somebody's really found God, and I was God for her. And I said to myself, whoa, that's pretty intense. And after that, we started hearing everybody tell the lie all the time. You're my favorite shark. You're my favorite shark. Till I was traveling with Kevin O'Leary at an airport once. And a woman got on the way, thank God, not in the stall, on the way to the stall, said to me, you're my favorite shark. You're my favorite shark. I said, thank you, thank you. I always believe that. Then I get outside, and what do you think happened? She was outside talking to Kevin, and I hear her say, you're my favorite shark. How could he be her favorite shark and me be her favorite shark? Come on. Yeah. You happy? You can take your hands out of your pocket now.
Do you want the jacket?
No, and I don't want the other part either. Sit down. Now you're more my type. You're a hunk.
Well, you're not going to like me after this.
Okay.
I just want to preface this by saying you did say you would answer any question. So
Oh. Yeah,
one
but your eyes are twittering. You're nervous.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
I'm nervous.
Go ahead.
You scare me a little bit, just a little bit. So one of my favorite anecdotes of yours is your letter to Mark Burnett, and I'm amazed at how you handled it. I loved reading the text of it. What I'd like to know is, who was the younger blonde you were competing with for that season of Shark Tank?
I can't tell you that.
You said you'd answer anything.
I would answer, but you know why I couldn't, and now I lied, and I didn't mean to, because I will answer anything. But you know why I can't answer that? Because she was the scorned lover. And it would feel, if it came back to her, it wouldn't be right.
So my working theory that it was Lori, not correct.
No, you're not right about that. But kind of a Lori lookalike.
Okay.
Kind of a Lori lookalike, yeah.
All right. Thank
I'm
you
sorry I wasn't good for my word, but it would be too mean-spirited.
No, I'm just
Yeah,
joshing you. But
Yeah.
thank you very
But
much.
she was not only had long blonde hair, just like Tina, my old secretary who stole my boyfriend, ironic, okay? She also had huge you-know-whats. And all I had to do is do one click online, I got why I was rejected. That's not really fair, but I assumed I knew. You know what I mean? And I knew I had tremendous liabilities to overcome there. Okay, age one, clearly. You know, I'm old enough to be all those sharks' mothers. I really am. Damon said to me one time, he said, you're not old enough to be my mother. I said, yeah. I said, just think about it, Damon. If they catch that black guy that raped my mother at 20, they're going to put him behind jail. Bars. Get that? It's a joke. Damon loved it. Sorry. Damon loved it. He goes, that's the funniest thing I ever heard. That's why I'm your son, right? You got it. This isn't recorded, is it? Oh, I'm serious. Is this recorded? Well, if it is, whoever's recording, X that out, because that could get me in trouble. You know, anything out of context, right? Yeah. And then I have to get Damon to come testify. Okay. All right.
Thanks a lot, Barbara.
Come up with a different question.
Well, you're my favorite shark.
Yes,
I'll say
ma'am.
that. Thanks.
So I know you said Damon gets cut, but I think you might get your airtime cut a little bit too, huh?
No, oh, you mean with my filthy mouth?
Yeah, they're cutting you out a lot too.
Yeah.
So my question is,
You didn't look like the type that was going to say that.
Oh, no? Yeah. I'm coming at you strong. So what,
Who is this woman?
so what, if any, sharks do you prefer working with?
I like working with Mark Cuban. You know why? He's got a great team around him. He's quick to decide, bam, bam, thank you, ma'am. He doesn't take a lot of time on the due diligence, and he gets down to business. And also, he's extremely bright. On many, many ways, he's bright, okay? And something about having a billionaire, whether it's right or wrong, put their money in the business you're putting your millionaire money in, makes you feel like you're smarter. Okay? Yeah. So.
Is there anybody that you don't like working with? I mean,
Yeah, who is this woman? Okay. You know what? I've done deals with all of the entrepreneurs, and I actually like doing deals myself. Think about it. When you do a deal with another shark, you've got to agree on terms of the contract. You've got to compare due diligence. You've got emails going back and forth. It's hugely inefficient. I like to decide, get it done, and move on. Because all that we really have in life is our time. So anything that's inefficient, I'm off a chip off my mother's block. Anything that's inefficient, I don't want to mess with. Like, just no, let's just move on. You know. So really by myself, and I've done deals with everybody, but I never mind doing a deal with Mark. Yeah. Okay?
Thanks.
Although Mark did tell me not to invest in this phenomenal deal because he knew all about franchising, he really did. I didn't invest in it, who will remain nameless. And they're one of the biggest hits on Shark Tank. Proving that just because somebody has more money, they're not smarter than you.
Right.
Yeah. Yes. Wow, you're like a kind of a cowboy type.
So I kind of have two questions.
Yes.
I'll start with one and maybe I'll get to the other one. So the first
Oh,
one,
what the hell? Go for two.
All right. So the first question I had kind of had to do with Shark Tank itself. So like when you're picking entrepreneurs, how much does the actual idea matter? Like, do you care more about the actual person?
It depends what you're after. For me, it's all about the people. I mean, the idea's got to have a couple of legs. Important to me. It's got to make common sense, okay? And I've got to picture a lot of people buying it. If I can't picture a lot of people buying a nuance, a lot of that stuff for TV is nuance products because it's curious. Oh, I would have never thought of that. It's good for TV, but it's not good for my pocketbook. So if I see something that makes common sense, it doesn't have to be unique. I mean, pork barrel barbecue sauce, how many sauces are out there? I've never even checked it. I wouldn't want to because I'd feel like a fool putting money in it. Okay, but I had something unique. I had the guy that looked the part, okay? And they were great hustlers. The great hustlers, you know, smart guys, great hustlers. So for me, I always pick out the entrepreneurs. And the times I haven't, the times I've been swayed to pick the business because it seems amazing, I've lost money every time. It's always when and you know what I do in my head when I'm sitting there, when I'm equivocating, which isn't that much like me. I'm usually in or out before they open their mouth, based on what they look like and how they act under pressure with the camera zooming in, how they hold eye contact. I'm already deciding. At least I know when I'm out, okay? But I have to say that, I don't know what I was saying. What's your second question? I lost my train of thought, yeah.
My second question had more to do with like you were talking about what kind of makes a great entrepreneur. So I'm wondering.
Oh, always pick, my conclusion there is I always pick the person over the business. But your second question is that?
My
Go
question
ahead.
is, what do you do like when you are your own worst enemy? Kind of like when you doubt.
I have good advice on that, okay? Because that is the real enemy in building any business or building any success for yourself. I really believe you are the enemy. Okay? You could look and blame this and this and this, but how does a guy like Branson do what he did? I mean, how does he do it? Nobody else built this giant airline. How do people do it, you know? You know what I think? I think the battle is won inside your own head, won or lost inside your own head. For me, I had a huge advantage because I came into the adult world pissed. Okay, not over my parents, I spoke in glowing terms, I was happy with that. But I was such a horrific student in school that the kids made fun of me. I couldn't read. My idea of hell on earth was being made to read out loud and have to go, and everybody laughing, okay? So when I got out of that goddamn schoolhouse, it was like a jailhouse for me, I came out with vengeance and a need to prove I wasn't stupid. Do you know how that's got me through the thick and thin? The insecurity of thinking maybe I am stupid. I still feel that way on a bad day. But as a result of that, I share this with you if it's helpful to anybody here. I learned to develop a tape of my own, because my old tape was this. I would go into a situation, not raise my hand. I mean, me speaking up, even on Shark Tank, very hard for me to do, to be heard. You notice I don't talk as much because I'm like, if they showed all the tapes for an hour and a half, you'd see me saying, ah, all right? But what I learned to do for myself is to, when I start doing the, oh my God, I should have come here. Gosh, they don't like me. Oh my God, what about all this self-talk? We all do it, whatever your thing is. And it's usually from childhood, some bullshit that went on there that formed you, right? When I start doing that, now I have a new tape. And it's not that new. I've been doing it now for 30 years. And it goes like this. I sit there and I go, hey, wait a minute. I have just as much right to be here as that asshole. Right? And then I psych myself up. I get really loud and stuff. I think, you know what? There's nobody who says you can't get your hand on the money like everybody else. If I have anything in life that you really want to desire, go as far as you want. I get myself really steamed up. And then I always land in the same place, which is, well, fuck you. And then I raise my hand. Hey! Okay? But that self-battle within it is so important within myself. Because when I feel like that Alice in Wonderland going down the rabbit hole, whatever that famous line is. It's not I'm shrinking, or is that Wizard of Oz, or melting, whatever the hell it is, okay? But you know, that feeling of going down, ooh, shrinking, you know, the minute that starts now, I'm very good at bringing that other person right to the front, you know? And I'm gonna prove that I'm smart. All the time I gotta prove it. Doesn't mean I don't feel it, I'm not sometimes, but I've really kicked in. I'm a pretty fast forward on that now, you know? That's it.
Thank you.
Right? And another one little thing for the women in the room, sometimes when I'm in a situation, I just say to myself, what would a man do? And you know what? Men are much more apt to speak up, demand more, ask for the bigger raise, blah, 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 than a woman would. They really are. I know, because I've hired thousands of people, fired thousands of people, I've worked with thousands of people, I'm old, I know this stuff, okay? And I will often say to myself, what would a man do? And I'll say, wait, I'm not gonna like understand the other side better than I understand my side, which is like me, empathy. I understand. No, I gotta take care of me here too. Hey, let me tell you what I want. That's what a man says. Hey, let me tell you what I want. With a woman, it's like, you know what, I was thinking that. Okay, yeah. A little different, yeah. Different style, you know, as long as you get there. Yes, sir, with the plaid shirt on. That is mattress, and that was all the rage when I was 17.
Oh, yeah, I did not take a time machine to come here. Hello.
Yeah, does that bleed, by the way, that mattress?
You mean, I don't sleep with this, but...
No, well, when we used to wash our mattress, it would bleed, and that was cool. Go ahead.
Oh,
Yeah.
this doesn't bleed, I don't think so.
Okay.
Anyway,
You would know it by
question-
now. Okay.
I guess I would. My question is more along the lines of persistence.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's your take on if you're fighting a battle right now and
Mm-hmm.
you know it kind of looks like you're gonna lose, but you still have the impetus to persist?
Mm-hmm.
What advice do you have on?
Well, that's a hard one because it depends so much on your own good judgment, okay? Most often, it's far better to play your hand out because you don't want to leave without the end to the story in my book. In other words, you want to play it out and see if you could bring it to the finish line, okay? That being said, sometimes you're hitting your head against the wall, against a wall that doesn't believe you, it's never going to believe you, and it's never going to buy in the first place. And then I change the wall, and I use the same persistence to hit against a different wall. Very often in a situation where you're an employee, I could have been amazing as a sales clerk at my job at Schweitz's department store selling those granny gowns. Oh, you're amazing, Barbara, you can sell those granny gowns. But I was never going to run Schweitz's department store, no matter how good I was. You know what I mean? It was owned by the Schweitzes. Right. So I think you have to push and push until your dignity is whole and you think, well, nobody could have done it any harder. But I think you also have to know when you don't have a shot and move on and spend your God-given talents on somebody where it fits or something where it fits. So you can get stuck without moving on if you're too much that way. You know, vacillated answer. I think I'll make that the last one because I think we're over time. Is that your God calling? All right. And let me ask you. Thank you. Let's have a show of hands on how many people love this guy's hair. Whoa, it is nice. Okay. Give us shampoo. Thank you. Thank you very much.